Okay, brother.
All right, let's do this, people.
All right.
Season
All
one,
right, let's do
episode
it.
3. Come on, Nikki.
All right, I'm
Come
ready,
on,
baby.
baby.
All right.
Let's
Week three,
recap the
episode
week.
3 of the 2023 college football season. Here we go.
Can you
What was your big takeaway from Saturday's games?
Big takeaway is Texas is here and they're ready to play with the big boys. That was
Right,
my biggest takeaway. And I watched the game. I couldn't watch it live because I was at the Maryland game.
right,
But I did watch it. I watched the tape of it. YouTube's got everything. You can watch whatever you want. Now it's the
right,
fucking
right,
best. So I watched the YouTube of it. Watched about the 30-minute like YouTube of the best plays. And man, Quinn Ewers can really fall. I mean, he's
right, right,
he's legit. I mean, and I feel bad for Manning's boy because he's not going to play for another 2 years. He's not
right,
playing
right,
this
right,
year, and he's definitely
right,
not playing next year when the guy's going to be a Heisman Trophy candidate, right?
right, right,
So, I
right.
mean, can you imagine if Ohio State had him though? Wow, how good
Yeah,
would
yeah,
they be
yeah,
with that guy? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
he's a dude. He threw some dimes against probably the best defense. Well, Georgia's probably the best defense, but a very good defense. But before we keep going on, I had something happen to me, so I want to
Okay,
share that with everybody. All right,
okay.
let's see. Share screen. All right, we ready to share my screen? Let's
All right.
share the
Let
screen.
her rip.
All right, hang on. Is it on the screen?
I think so. I think
All
we're up.
right, here we go. This happened this weekend, Nikki.
All right.
Herp's coming out.
That's great, man. I mean, that's what college football is all about.
There's me and my wife Shelly.
All right.
Me screaming at the team at the pearly gate.
Right.
You see me
Right.
yelling at him?
I do.
There's
That's
Coach Watts right
fantastic.
in front of me. I'm trying to talk to him. He's ignoring me the whole time. I mean, ignoring me. And here we go.
Let the gates open.
And that smoke is hot, by the way. When I tell you it's hot, you can feel it singeing your hairs. It's hot.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's hot.
That's great. That's great that
Yeah.
you were able to do that. Fantastic. All right. And you got to win. The Terps weren't won. They were down, and then they came back and won.
And we got a dub. So that was a lot
Right.
of fun, man. So I got
I
to do
bet.
that this weekend. First time ever. Definitely a top 5, one of the funnest things I've ever done as a Maryland fan. So that was fun.
That's great. It looks fun.
I don't know what other takeaways. You know, Miami, Nikki,
Right. You had that one.
I got the receipts,
Right.
baby. I'm
Right. Right.
cashing in.
Right. Right. Right.
Boom.
Right.
I mean, the
Right.
only call I had that was bad was I thought Bama would win. I thought there was no way Texas. I figured typical Texas pretender, right?
Right.
Um, but no, man. I mean, Jalen Monroe, the Milroe for Alabama is a good quarterback, but he's not Quinn Ewers. He's just not. I mean, he made some plays with his feet,
Right.
threw some balls. They had one touchdown called back that might have changed the complexion of the game a little bit, but based on what I saw, I just didn't see them being as good. And defensively, Texas got some dudes on defense too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then the Colorado and the under. Colorado with the 2.5 point spread, I thought was a bad spread. They won
Right.
big. And Miami going down there and thumping A&M. So
Yeah.
A&M
That.
once again pretender, right?
Right. Right. But one of these days, I mean, Jimbo Fisher won the national title 10 years ago. He
Yeah.
was Nick Saban's offensive coordinator. He didn't forget everything he knew
No.
in the last few years. I guess they've just got a lot of dents they've got to bang out or something.
Yeah, I think here's I got the kind of the skinny from some FSU fans on him that he He was good at FSU. Got into a nasty divorce with his old lady.
Right.
And then he just started going around town sleeping with anyone he could, and he just doesn't give a shit about football anymore. All he cares about is drinking and chasing girls.
Right.
And at A&M, making 10 million, he's the king dingaling there. He does whatever he wants. And once again, 10 years ago, I mean, he was focused on football. And at FSU, the criminals, they had some players back then, a lot of
Oh
good
yeah.
players.
Oh
He's
yeah.
got players at A&M, but and this is a guy on the hot seat, by the way. He doesn't win this year, he's done,
Oh, definitely. Oh,
right? I mean,
definitely.
they're
No
just
doubt
cut
about it.
ties with him. They got a $1 billion endowment there at A&M. They'll just cut
Right.
him, write him a check, and say, "Go away, we hate you." Right?
Right. Right.
It's over.
Right.
So very not surprised that he's not winning there either. I mean, and they're going to the SEC next year. What are you going to be 7-5 for the next 10
Right.
years with him? Forget it.
Right.
They're not.
So
They're not. And especially with Texas now winning, they're probably like, "Oh my God, did we
right.
bank
Right.
on the
Right. Right.
wrong guy?" Right?
Right.
So.
So would that be your bad loss of the week? Would be Texas A&M, because I think they were favored.
Um, yeah, I think that one and Washington State thumping Wisconsin. I saw 30 minutes of that game too, because I'm not
Right.
staying up for the West Coast games, until 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
But you watch that game, they had a chip on their shoulder, man. I mean, Washington State was like, okay, we're part of the Pac-2 now. You guys all hate us. You don't want us. Fine. We're going to thump you on the field then. And they took it to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, which is typically a very physical team that manhandles people. I mean, I know that's what they do in the Big Ten usually, right? They
Right.
got manhandled. I mean, they got
Right.
thrown around, man. That game was, I think, 22-31. It was a 20-point game. It was a lot. It
Right.
wasn't as close as the score, to be honest with you. Wisconsin wasn't
Right.
even in it. I mean, they ran it down their throats. They stopped the run. That Braylon Allen's a beast of a running back, and they stopped him at the point of attack. They had multiple sacks, multiple fumbles, multiple interceptions. I mean, defensively, they just knocked him around, man. So
Right.
I thought Wisconsin going in there would thump them. I didn't call that on the show, thank God. But Washington State, they're like a middle of the Pac-12 team, and they just thumped one of the favorites in the Big Ten, right? So what does that tell you? I
Right.
mean, the
Right.
Pac-12's no joke. They got some players. They got some teams on that. I know you think it's coaching. I agree that it is coaching, but you still got to have the dudes to make the plays, right? You can coach up
Right.
everything you want, but if you
Right.
don't got guys with talent, forget it. You're in trouble.
Right. Right.
So I think that was a huge upset as well. I mean, those two games
Yeah.
were pivotal to their season. I think Wisconsin's now just going to be a paper lion, and so is A&M. I don't see them turning around their fortunes. I think Bama could turn around their fortunes because they got a lot of talent. They got great coaching,
Right.
but I think Texas. I think they look pretty good. I mean, they still got to go into some weird places in the Big 12, but they look pretty good, man. I mean,
Right. Right.
that Oklahoma Texas game in Dallas is going to be might be our spotlight game that week. To be honest with
Right.
you,
Right. Right.
that's
Right.
looking like
Yeah.
a big one. All right,
Yeah.
so this week looks a little light in terms of games, right? I mean, I went through the schedules. What are you thinking this week in terms of like a game that I mean, Florida Tennessee was like the best one that I saw. What do you think? What do you think about this week?
These are some yeah, I totally agree with you. I only see LSU at Mississippi
Yeah,
State in
I saw that.
Starkville,
I saw that.
uh, with getting Mississippi State getting 10. Um, the Washington Huskies at Michigan State.
Yep.
It's a 16-point line, but that might be off the board because the Spartan program seems like it's disintegrated. At least the coaching staff seems like
Well,
it's disintegrated in the last 24 hours
I'm
or
wearing the
48
gear.
hours.
There's a
Yeah,
reason for it, but
right.
let's not later.
Yeah. And then the only other two ones I saw were Tennessee at Florida,
Yep.
like you said, and the backyard brawl, Pitt and West Virginia.
Right. I saw that as well.
Yeah.
That's always a good game. They hate each other.
Right.
Old shit on Pitt happens, all all the
Right.
nonsense at West Virginia.
Right.
They're about 45 minutes to an hour apart. A lot
Right.
of bad blood. All the West Virginia graduates, a lot of them move to Pittsburgh when they graduate, if they graduate. You know what they
Right.
say about
Right.
West Virginia, Nick.
Right.
Easy to get in, hard to stay. So,
Right.
um, so then, yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think it's a great week for games, but you know what? There's been so many upsets, so many crazy finishes that
Right.
maybe they'll bring a game that we weren't really thinking about. Turns out to be a great game,
Right.
What
Right.
about on the gambling side? I laid a little lumber on your two bets, split the difference on those.
Right.
But I also went 4-1 on some other games because I figured, we started to know a couple things about these games. I liked Charlotte getting 24.5.
Right. Worked out
Um,
pretty well.
that Maryland was down 14-0, and I thought, all right, I know Maryland's going to win the game, but I don't think they're definitely not going to cover. And then it went 38-14, so it's a 24-point game. And I had 24 in the hook, so I had 24.5. So I still
Right.
felt pretty good about it. Charlotte had the ball, and they were driving, and I thought, oh my God, they're going to fumble, and it's going to get returned for pick six, or something's
Right.
going to happen. A fumble six,
Right.
and they scored. So covered that. I took your UNLV bet. You were right. Michigan was up, I think, 35-0 and called off the dogs, right?
Right.
And won 35-7. We're getting UNLV in 37.5.
Right.
I really liked Oregon to go into Lubbock and kill A&M. I mean Tech,
Right.
right?
Right.
And they barely won it, right?
Right.
But they won by, I think, 8. And I had
Yeah.
them -7, 6.5. I thought that was a horrible line, thinking they're gonna beat them by 20. They barely
Right.
beat them, but they beat them by 8, so that covered. And then the
Right.
game I really liked, and it played out, was Rutgers over Temple, because my son goes to Temple. They barely beat Akron last week. They had to come back in the fourth quarter to beat them. And Rutgers had a good win last week against a Big Ten opponent,
Northwestern.
right? Against
Northwestern.
Northwestern. Thumped them.
Yeah.
And I thought Rutgers at home, first home game, they're going to thump Temple, and they won 35-7. And my only loss was the Stanford game, which I didn't watch, but I saw the first half. I shouldn't say I didn't watch it. Well, I watched the first half after the Maryland game, and USC looked really good. I mean, they look
Yeah.
like a playoff team, right? I mean,
Yeah.
offensively, Caleb
Yeah.
Williams is a stud.
Yeah. I mean, just
So,
looking at the stat line, it's like give him the Heisman now. It's hard to match. He
yeah,
hits everything he throws.
yeah, yeah. And then that's obviously a tough conference. They'll have to run the
Yeah.
gauntlet to go get through there.
Right.
All right, so what do you like this week? Is there any games you're thinking we need to lay some lumber on? Because my wallet's pretty thick right now in my
Yeah.
account. My FanDuel account's heavy right now.
It's a tough week.
It is.
Um,
It is.
there's not a lot that jumped out at me. I guess I would, in the backyard brawl, I would take West Virginia, I guess, +1 at home.
At home +1. Wow, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Coach Brown, he needs to get some wins
Yeah.
quickly.
Oh, he does.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, he does need to get some wins. Um,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I mean, man, that Pat Narduzzi at Pitt is a really good coach. I'm
Oh, he's
shocked he's
excellent.
still there, man. I mean, I think he may be the next coach at Michigan State, to be honest with you. They get rid of who's the coach?
Arlen Barnett. Yeah.
Who's the coach there now?
It looks like, from what I read in this morning's paper, it looked like they've called in the lawyers to deal with the Mel Tucker
Mel
situation.
Tucker, that's it. Right.
And then
So
they've
it's
brought back Mark D'Antonio, the
I
former
saw
coach,
that.
and the defensive coordinator.
Yeah. I
You
don't like
know,
that bringing back D'Antonio. I think
yeah,
that's like, was he always lurking there in the background, behind Mel
yeah,
Tucker, waiting for the opportunity to pounce?
right,
I mean, I think it's a bad look for school to bring back an old coach, but
right.
I think Narduzzi's is the guy for that job, and I
Yeah,
think they win with him. He's an excellent coach.
yeah, no doubt about it. He was a great defensive coordinator there. He
Yeah,
knows them, they know him,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I think that's the play. So
right,
I'm wearing the jersey because I think that's, if I was going on a road trip this week, that's where I would go for the Washington Michigan State game. Obviously, everything, the turmoil on the side is huge. What's going on there, but I think also you have Washington's got to travel, 2/3 of the country to get to the game. I think it
right.
might even be a 12 o'clock start, which makes it a 9 a.m. start for Washington. I haven't looked at the time when it starts, but I think it might be an early start, which kind of puts them behind the 8 ball. And I like Michigan State to play them tough, but get beat. Washington, so Michigan State, if you want to go on a road trip, East Lansing's a fun town to go to. I've been to a football game and a basketball game there. The football game I went in November. If this game was in November, I would say don't go to Michigan State in November. It was
Right.
cold, it was raining, it rained the whole game. We had a tarp over us for the Penn State Michigan State game. It was
I,
Thanksgiving weekend.
I remember it.
Miserable,
Right,
miserable. Um,
right,
so it was like 40 degrees and pouring the whole game. It was
right,
fun because I remember it because it was so miserable.
right,
But but I went for a basketball game this year for the Michigan State Maryland game and had a great time. And it's a cool town, a lot of bars, a lot of good restaurants, not
right,
too expensive. Hotels are like $100 a night, so not too bad. Great campus, everything's on the campus. So you go there, everything's walking, just park your car from your hotel and you walk onto the campus. I was actually there for the Maryland game the week before that shooting happened there. So it's kind of eerie that I just
right,
been there and that shooting happened on the campus. That kind of sucked. But good bars, good restaurants, friendly people. Their fans were friendly to us. The student body was friendly to us, shockingly enough, because we sat right behind the Maryland bench and they were really, really respectful and fun. So that's where I would go this week based on the games that I saw. I mean, obviously West Virginia was in the hunt for this call this week, but I think we'll have other weeks where we pick West Virginia, which is
right,
another. I've never been
right,
there, but I heard it's a blast.
right,
I'm afraid to go there as a Maryland fan. It'll be just crazy. I'm not
right,
interested
right.
in that.
Sure. Plus,
All right.
it's good to go up to East Lansing in September rather than November.
Yeah. I think the weather will be crummy because it's always crummy there, but it
Right,
won't be as crummy. Let's just say that.
right,
Um,
right.
So in terms of an upset this week, I mean, I went through it pretty hard. I really like Illinois.
Okay, Bert Bielema's team.
Yep, getting 14 and a half at home. They've been kind of okay this year. Penn State's just crushing people. Um, but I do like Illinois at home this week. I don't know why. I got a feeling about it. I think they're going to play them tough. I think they're definitely going to cover. And I could see them actually winning the game. What are you thinking in terms of an upset? Have you found anything that you liked?
I haven't. I didn't find any upset.
Yeah, it's a
I,
tough
I
week, man. There's no really games that move you.
with Mississippi State. I don't know too much about the program since Coach Leach died last year.
Right.
I'm not sure who's in charge. I mean, Starkville's a tough place to play, but
It is.
LSU's got a lot of talent.
I think LSU thumps them.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
So
pissed about the loss to Florida State. I think they
how
thump
did
them.
Fernando, how do you see the Tennessee Florida game going in the swamp in Gainesville?
What's the line on that? It's like 17 or something?
7.
7. That's a stinky line, man. I
Yeah.
think Florida loses by 10. I
Okay.
think I think Tennessee, I mean, um, they got a lot of talent on that team, man. I mean, they're
Oh,
recruiting with Bama, they're recruiting with Georgia and winning some of those battles. They got the nil money. They have, 100,000 fans, so they have cash to
right,
buy players.
right.
Going into Gainesville's tough. I get that, but Napier's team just doesn't have a lot of juice, man. So I mean, I don't see it, man. I don't see it. I think I like Tennessee by 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't see Florida beating them. I don't think it's an upset alert or my God, this is uh Tennessee better be careful. Because I don't think Florida has a lot of juice. That's
Right.
the main reason.
Right.
I mean, I think by not this week, but maybe in 2 weeks, we'll start to really figure out who has juice, who doesn't, right? Don't you think?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and there hasn't been any major injuries that I can't think of. So injuries are going to start happening as well, and then
Right.
that changes the complexion of a team when a guy goes down, as you know. I mean that,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Right.
But yeah, man, I really liked the games last week, though. I thought it was some really good television, really good games.
Right. Right.
And Maryland winning again, obviously, looks good for us. And they play Virginia this week, which is going to be Friday night national television. I think they thumped Virginia. Virginia's not very good, and they lost to JMU this last week,
Right.
which is
Right.
kind of an upset. But JMU's they always have a pretty good program, man. They beat a
Right.
lot of Power Five teams
Right.
over the
I
years.
think JMU's like Pick'em this week against Troy State, which
Who?
is a decent team from down in Alabama.
JMU is a pick 'em.
Yeah, against the Division One team.
Yeah. Well, no, they're Division One now. They moved up
Oh.
this year.
Oh,
This
okay.
is the
Oh, I didn't
first
know
year they
that.
moved up. Yeah. And and Dion again, man, big W
Right. Right.
over Nebraska. I just they're playing really good, man. We'll see what happens as the
Right.
schedule gets tougher, right? I mean, they still got SC to play, UCLA to play, Washington to play, so it'll get real interesting here for Colorado.
Right.
Um,
Right.
them against USC could be like a definitely taking the over in that game. There's going to be a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
points in
Yeah.
that game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what else you got, Nikki?
That's about it. I was, I think the big things you hit is the sort of the resurgence of the Pac-10. I think the only Pac-10 school that's lost is Cal lost to Auburn,
Right?
and they really shouldn't have lost.
Did you
And
see any of that?
I did not, but
I,
from
I
what I
didn't either.
read, they were sort of shooting themselves in the foot a lot.
Yeah,
And,
14-10 was the final, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
Auburn's not very good. I mean, they got to go into Cal and thump them, right?
right,
You got to thump
right,
them and say, "See you later.
right,
We'll be working for you in 4 years, but today we own you, right?"
right, right,
But they didn't play very well. I mean,
right,
if they beat Cal by 4, they're going to get thumped in the SEC this year.
right,
They're going to be
right.
fodder. We'll see with LSU, man. But I like LSU big. I do.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, man. I think that's about
All
it. I
right.
mean, I don't have anything else. It's
Let
kind of
me.
a low week. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. So you got the lowdown on what's happening in Michigan State. The lawyers are involved now.
Well, I guess there's. I don't know if the lawyers are involved, but I guess there's so much money involved. I guess there's over $5 million or whatever his annual salary. It's high, and I guess they've got to figure out. Do they have a cause to terminate him, or how does that all work? I guess that's
Who's the victim in this whole thing? Somebody worked for the program.
uh I think it's a woman who was a rape victim, and she goes around she tells her story to different programs, and I guess Michigan State brought her in to lecture the team, and um from there, I guess everything went sideways. I mean, it's
Oh, Mel got her alone in a room somewhere, or
I don't know. I just don't,
yeah,
don't
I don't know
know.
either. He's a good
Yeah,
football coach, though.
right,
Doesn't make him a good human. Doesn't make him a good
right,
person. He could have a dark side to him. I mean, so
right,
just because you're a good football coach doesn't mean you're not
right,
a predator.
right,
But hopefully it all comes out. But I think if he's gone, I mean, they got D'Antoni in there. They'll probably keep D'Antoni till the end of the year, and
right,
then Pat Narduzzi would be my call for that job.
I think yeah, that's a good solid call. I think he would do. Like I said, they know him, he knows them, and
Yeah,
he's a first-rate coach.
yeah. All
He's
right,
been
man.
at Pitt for a while. He's had a good run.
He has, and he's won there, and he's won
Right.
big there, and I'm assuming they're paying him a lot of money. Pitt's just,
Right.
I mean, since Jackie Sherrill left in late '70s, early '80s, they've just been like a stepping job. Everyone goes there, wins there, and leaves.
Right.
They got to build someone back up, and the same thing. I mean, I know my daughter went to Pitt, and when I was there, I got to know one of the ex-players who was on campus, sells all the gear there on campus. So I got to know him pretty well because every time we go there, I go buy something from him. And he just said, we can't keep a coach, man. Every time we start winning with a coach, he leaves.
Right.
We're like, it's terrible what's going
Right.
on. So
Right.
I hope he doesn't leave because I think he's turned that program around. But there's just so much money involved in the Power Five and the Big Ten. I mean, they'll offer him
Right.
8 million, 10 million a year, and he'll be like, "See ya," right?
Right.
I mean, Pitt's not going
Right.
to match that. I mean,
Right.
it's a football school, but they're not
Right.
matching that. They're
Right.
just not.
Right.
All right, one last
Right.
thing. I know we don't like to jump into the NFL, but the G-men looked terrible last night.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dallas.
Wow.
Dallas. Has a lot of great players on that team. I mean, there are some,
On
guys
defense, especially, yeah.
who maybe you're not familiar with their names or they haven't, but they can all play. They're just great football players. And I
They
think,
thumped them. I mean, they thumped
yeah,
them. A shutout
right,
at home, that's
right,
unheard of in the NFL. I mean, unheard
yeah,
of. I
40
mean,
points. I mean, they hung 40 points on them.
yeah, on the
You
road
know,
and shut out a team on the road.
right,
I know the weather was horrible and all that stuff, but Dallas got 40, so you could score.
yeah,
That was shocking to me. Really, I mean, I was like,
yeah,
wow, I didn't see that
right,
coming. I thought it'd be a close game.
right.
Guess the Daniel Jones experiment continues.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You can't trust the Dukies, Nicky. They'll always screw you. Once
right,
you
right,
trust the Dukies, screws you big time.
right,
All right, man.
right.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
We'll
See you
talk.
next week. All right,
And
be well.
bye bye.
But take care. See you.